On this episode of the Heritage Hip Hop Podcast, we're going to church. Now, a lot of you who follow Heritage Hip Hop know I talk about the scriptures, I talk about God in relation to what the music is. But this episode, we're going to talk to somebody who really puts that church life, into her music, and has also started a movement to help people not only accept their faith, but to give that acceptance off in their music and in their creations, so that the mass majority of people who are being introduced to your sound or their sound and their look and their creativity knows that God comes first and is foremost present in everything that they do. So in this episode, we introduce you to Brea Miles. That's right, it's always Brea, and the spirit is always working. So before we get into this episode, let's thank the Most High for this opportunity, and also give a shout out to BQ of Fatty's Place for making this happen. So without further ado, we're going to go to our great interview, and I'll come back with the rest of my commentary when it's done.
Peace and blessings, everybody, and welcome back to the Heritage Hip Hop Podcast. On today's episode, I have somebody whose lyrics reflect the higher level of understanding and the hope of things not seen, yet promised to those who believe. Introduce yourself to the people, please.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Brea Miles.
Brea Miles is not a name that's new to Heritage Hip Hop, because Heritage Hip Hop believes in understanding the totality of hip hop culture and not only accepting the music. Instead of asking you, why did you start rapping and all that, because that's so cliche, I want to ask you, how did you put your belief into your rhymes to make your rhymes more apparent and living?
That's a really great question. For me, I think I really had a solid relationship with God before I even really started doing music, before I started rapping. So for me, it was only right, and it only reflected my life, and it continues to reflect my life. Because for me, Jesus is my foundation, God is my foundation, and so my life and everything that I say, the music that I create, the raps that I write are going to reflect that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like what you spend the most time with, what you really work out the most in your life. And so for me, it just was really the fact that I really wanted to have a solid relationship with God. And, it just reflects in my music. And so I think that's, really the formula of how God set it up for me.
Which is excellent, because Christian hip hop is like a curse to hip hop. Because when people say, like, you're a Christian rapper, people, like, give you the shout out, like, word, you're a Christian rapper. You know what I'm saying? And the two-faced nature of hip hop is this: we don't believe you if your rhymes don't reflect what you're living. But Christians really try to reflect what they're rapping about. Why do you think that double standard is there when it comes to the hip hop culture?
I think that one, faith itself is a little bit, it's a little bit scary for some people, and for many of us in hip hop culture, we've never seen a Christian for real. We've only seen the people who project one thing, but their lifestyle is a whole nother thing. And so we completely categorize and stereotype everybody that comes after that person that we saw that was not living it. And we'd be like, oh, yo, I don't care what you got to say, because I know how y'all are. I know how y'all do. I know how y'all ain't nothing about, y'all just want money. Y'all just want to, get my tithes and my offerings. And so we literally put every single person that claims to be or that actually is a believer in that exact same category, regardless if they actually have a lifestyle to back up what they're saying. So with hip-hop, I think the thing is we also want to make sure that people are vetted and verified. Hip-hop has always been a thing about honesty. It's about being real. It's about, we the 100, keep it 100 generation, no cap generation. And so a lot of us want to make sure that the people that are up there doing hip hop music, especially because it's really like one of the rawest art forms ever. You know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to write your own music, you're supposed to produce it, your own lyrics, all of that. So everything that anybody says that when they touch that mic or when they post something on IG or Facebook or TikTok or whatever, it's like, okay, is this person a legit hip hop artist? Because everybody that came before, you know what I mean? And I love hip hop music, and I love how you guys call it hip hop heritage. I love the history of hip hop music. So a lot of the people that came before out of the New York area, like Big Daddy Kane and Heavy D. Do y'all research? I did my due diligence, and I understand that, you know, these are people who are just naturally talented and gifted. You know what I mean? They just have it naturally. And, you know, LL Cool J and so on and so forth. And so, you know, with our generation, we look at people a certain type of way. And even with that generation, we look at people a certain type of way because that standard has been set so high. And everything that everybody talked about in those songs, they actually were living. And so whenever somebody comes in to hip hop, we automatically look at them sideways. And then when it comes to the faith factor, the Christian factor, then it's like a heck of a sideways, a heck of a cut eye, because it's like, yo, you got a double whammy against you. Like, one, you doing hip hop. Two, you claiming Jesus. So something ain't gonna add up here. And it's really because, one, we've never really seen a believer or a Christian walk out the life that they talk about for real. And then secondly, the history of hip hop is such that the people who established it were and are extremely solid, and everything that they ever talked about is their life. So I think it really boils down to those two things.
Since you took it there, me and Brea Miles are going to have a history test. You ready?
I'm ready.
So I'm going to go from faith-related down to music and then into who you are, so that we keep it concise to the interview because we don't want to go too far, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So history-related, Christianity has been at the forefront of the quote-unquote black community, whether it was the community church to the civil rights movement up into the 1960s. The quote-unquote black church was the pinnacle and the center of all movements that happened with the family and society, correct?
Correct. Uh-huh.
Okay, let's continue then, because now we're going to go from the 60s to the 70s and 80s. Okay. Because of the rise of Islam, the Christian church was abandoned in large number because of the turn the other cheek, nonviolent tactics. When people start picking up guns and becoming more of a unified group against an enemy, that people said, I'm going to do this, and then the church was kind of left behind and abandoned. Do you agree?
I agree. I can agree with that.
Okay, let's continue. Hip-hop was born out of pain, the pain of both causes, whether it was Christian, Islam, socialism, black power, whatever. Hip-hop came from all that because gang culture led to death. And then people wanted to come and give their children, and the younger children said, we're tired of dying. We wanted to get something that was more elevated and have more fun. Peace, love, and unity. Correct?
Correct.
Oh, we got A's so far. We looking good, Ms. Miles. We looking good. Okay? So let's go to the next level. Mm-hmm. In hip-hop, 5% culture in Islam is what grafted East Coast music. And out of East Coast music, that's where we got peace gods and god bodies. And then as it went to the West, and Ice Cube is the beginning of the blowing up, not the start, but the beginning of the blowing up of the Khalid Muhammad movement. Paris was the Black Panthers. Public Enemy, Chuck D, East Coast was the Farrakhan movement, Nation of Islam. All those things started coming together in the music. And it wasn't until, I'll say, Heavy D, and then later into the early 2000s when Christian hip-hop was a surge that came to the forefront. Why do you think, here's the question when it comes back to you, why do you think that as an artist, people will look towards their faith after the music instead of using it to fuel the music, as the heritage that we always come from had faith in its forefront?
Yo, you killing it right now. You killing it completely right now. I would say that, and just to make sure that I get the question right, the question is, why do we not use hip-hop at the forefront to fuel our faith, correct?
Well, people don't even put their faith in the front. They just come out with a song first. So why don't you just pick it up the way you have it?
Right. I think a part of that is because, so many of us believe that, and I'll just be honest, I think so many of us feel that Christianity is whack. A lot of people don't understand the rich, not only historically, but the heritage that we have as African American people with Christianity. So for so many people, they wrote, Christianity off, like you were talking about in the beginning, when you hit like the 70s and 80s era. Like a lot of people didn't really understand like the fact that the whole Western idea of Christianity was actually birthed out of Africa. Like the people that are considered the leaders, the founders of the evangelical movement actually went to Africa and learned from what we call the fathers of the faith, Tertullian, and a few other ones. And they really took their thesis from those from those African men. And they brought it back to the States because they were very concerned. They were very worried about, their own thesis. They were like, yo, this isn't good enough. I don't really know what to do. I'm nervous to present this to people, to the board, and so on and so forth. So they went to Africa, and they pulled, from the culture, they pulled from the faith and, passed it through, or for lack of better words, they just kind of took it and used it for themselves and then try to get the credit. And so now we're here in America with a completely watered down faith in a lot of areas where Black people, African American people feel really disconnected from their faith. They feel very disconnected from God because, again, the presentation, what it is, how it's been brought over, even the way that, we're seeing the evangelical church back a lot of the politicians now, but are claiming that this is under the guise of Christianity or that it's in fact God's will, when it's really not anything biblical according to the scripture. So I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to the music, when it comes to hip hop, they don't want to have or use or put their faith at the forefront is because of that history and the negative connotation that has come with it. And they don't really know how to say, I'm comfortable being a believer. I'm comfortable following Jesus or claiming the name of Christ. And so they just don't do it because they don't understand, one, the rich history that African Americans and the lineage that we have in Christianity. Like you can't take us out of it. You know what I mean? As far as the Bible, you know what I mean? Like we could have combo all day on how the whole Middle East, is Africa, and how we can have that whole conversation. But I think the thing is, a lot of people don't understand, one, again, our history, our heritage, and our roots in Christianity, and what that looks like for African American people, and how we should be proud of it instead of allowing it to be something that was weaponized against us to now rip us from our foundation. And so I think that reflects in our music, you know what I mean? Because we don't understand it. So again, the presentation that we've had now in the church, it's like, oh, you the pastor? Oh, you the leader? Oh, you know what I'm saying? And so I think it's very shaky for a lot of people because we got to realize a lot of the times as a Christian, we're the only Christian that some people are going to see, the only legit Christian. And so we get the opportunity to lead in ways that make people reconsider or reevaluate the way that they do life. And so I feel like, with the whole music thing, it's the same thing. We just haven't seen anybody do it the right way. We haven't really seen anybody come in and stay in as it pertains to faith and give us a blueprint. Whereas on the mainstream side of things, we got the blueprint. We got what it looks like, you know what I mean, the money, the struggle, the passion, the purpose, all of that. We got all of that. But as it relates to faith, there's been very few that have come and really stayed with it at a larger platform where people that are coming into it can say, oh, this is how you do it. It's really about mentorship and figuring out how that looks for you and how you can use it in your life and for your music.
Eloquently said. Now, see, that's where we're going to come to a conclusion on the thoughts in this conversation and interview, because I believe good faith is the study of the past brought into your present by your actions and traditionalized beliefs. Because that's all religion is tradition. You know what I'm saying? People can say that religion is how you pray, how you do this, how you do that. But if you don't do it consistently, it's not really a religion. It's a habit. A religion isn't a habit. It's a lifestyle. So your traditions will dictate your lifestyle. Once again, as you brought up Big Daddy Kane, LL Cool J, that means you studied and you went into the history to understand where you lie today when it comes to your culture and when it comes to your talent or the voice and message of your gift. Unfortunately, when it comes to faith, a lot of people don't study. And it isn't until you get called out on something, just like in hip-hop, if you don't get called out on something or you don't get checked, you don't have the merit to prove your worth. It says, study to show ourselves approved. Why don't people study, not just faith only, why don't people study, in your opinion, not only their talent, but how they move in life to create their talent and their voice?
Man, I think, because you're such a real guy, I'm going to say this. I think we're in an era where machines do everything. And so people don't necessarily have, and I'll just be honest, people don't necessarily have talent. You know what I mean? As it pertains to, like, the people that we just named, like, Big Daddy Kane, Heavy D, P. Diddy, all of the ones who really set hip-hop up. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't really have that same type of level, that same type of drive, because, one, it's a natural gifting from God. And the Bible says, your gifts come without repentance. So people are just naturally gifted by God to do certain things. And so, like, our generation, we're living in a time where machines do everything. And I'm not against, like, auto-tunes. I think a little sauce is cool here and there. But the actual part of talent that is supposed to reach people and to inspire people, like, for instance, I listened to Sirius XM. They had a whole Michael Jackson dedication. You know what I'm saying? They did a whole thing where they dedicated it to Michael Jackson. And it's like the artists that are now impacted by Michael Jackson to this day. And it's like, yo, why is Michael Jackson still relevant in 2020? And, he's been killing it forever. Like, how is he still relevant? It's because he was gifted by God to do what he does. And he took that and was like, yo, now I'm going to rehearse. Now I'm really going to body my craft. I'm going to figure out who Michael Jackson is. I'm going to figure out my own energy, my own gifting, my own talent, and how I can use that for myself and really build up my community and really inspire people with the gift. And so we're living in a time where, again, we already said the whole, technology and computer thing is like everything. People be sounding like computers and stuff. So now we strip back what it actually means to be an artist, what it actually means to have talent. And we're saying, look, if you get naked, if you're willing to roll around on the floor, if you're willing to do certain things, if you're willing to, still disrespect women, your own culture, your own community will give you a platform. And so now you have artists who are genuinely talented, who are faced with a two-sided coin. One is like, okay, I'm talented, but I don't necessarily have the means to let my talents get known to the world. Like, I'm working extremely hard, but I don't have the means or the resources or connect to get my talents known to the world. Two, I could go the opposite route and just completely, pimp out or prostitute my gifts. And regardless of how it impacts my community or my people or the culture at large, I'm going to just get money. And so now we're in this whole era where, talent is really drowned out. But I was having this conversation with somebody else, and I was like, look, yeah, we're living in this whole era when, talent might not be at the forefront for a lot of people because money is. However, you notice the people who are talented, and those ones that are talented tend to stick out a whole lot. You know what I mean? Which is why, J. Cole and Kendrick, they don't hardly be on their social media, but as soon as something drops, I bet you everybody know about it. And that's because they're very talented. You know what I'm saying? And their talent speaks for themselves. And so I think that it's up to artists, you know what I mean? If you know you got the talent, if you know, like, this is just something that God has blessed you with, you got to spend time with it. Like, I rehearse every day. We in the middle of a pandemic, we ain't going nowhere. But I have not stopped rehearsing every day. You know what I mean? Putting time in is what I love. And so I think it really comes down to you, your hunger and your drive, and if you really want it, and if you really love music, if you really love what you're gifted to do.
Glad you said that, because since you brought God up very, very, very much as the forefront, let's take it there for a second. Are you familiar with Heritage Hip Hop? Have you listened to our stuff at all?
I have. I took a listen to some. I checked out the joint that y'all got with Yo-Yo, the joint y'all got with Cassidy. I thought
Thank
it was
you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to go back, but I want to keep it on you. And the reason why I brought that up is because, as you could tell, I'm very faith-centric, but hip-hop culture. You see what I'm saying? And I want to ask you, because I'm going to give you my definition if you don't mind. but this is about you. What is hip hop?
Yeah, I say, what is hip hop? Hip hop is the energy, it is the passion, it is the voice of urban culture. It is the voice of specifically the African American community, and then it was able to, trickle down to the Latino community as well. And it's really the voice of people who wouldn't be heard otherwise. But not only that, we recognize and we understand that we're more than just a song. We're more than just 3 minutes and 25 seconds. We're business people, we're men and we're women. We're entrepreneurs, some are fathers, some are mothers. We give out opportunities. I feel like it is a blessing. Hip hop is a blessing to be able to give people opportunities by using their gifts who otherwise wouldn't necessarily get a platform or get an opportunity to utilize any of their other talents. Because when I think about it, I look at how, our icons are set up now. You know what I mean? Like who started out rapping, who now have clothing lines, who now have cologne lines and wing stops and sneakers and all of this other stuff. I feel like hip hop is a leveraging tool that God has blessed us with to be able to build the Black community. Yeah, it came out of pain. Yeah, it came out of lack. But we've been able to flip that and use it for a whole lot of positive. And I feel like if we continue to use it in a positive direction and not leave God out of it, we will see the birthing of the African American and even Latino community that we've hoped for all of this time, that we can continue what Martin Luther King and Medgar Evers and even Malcolm X and different ones started like that, about really building a sustainable African American community who can't be messed with, who can't be neglected, who can't be looked over, or culture vultured, or whatever you want it to be called. But I feel like hip hop is a tool that gives us the opportunity to create the communities and networks and finances and resources that our grandparents and great-grandparents only hoped for. That's what I feel like.
Beautiful. My definition of hip hop is God within you. That's it. I don't even have much to say. I just say it's God within you, because people think hip hop is music, and it's not. There is a hip hop music though. People think hip hop is a dance. There is hip hop dance, but that's not the culture. I'll put it like this. When you write music, you write the notes on lines. Those lines are called steps. When you journey through life, what do you take? Steps. Hip hop is the culmination of beats. What is the beat of your body? It's your heart. And the heart is the drum is the heart of the beat. So that drum, that natural rhythm, comes from God. Not only that, God does not work mysteriously. He works in systems. You have a respiratory system, endocrine system, sexual system. You have all those systems, reproductive, everything. And when systems work together, it's called health. And when you're in health, your body works in perfect harmony. You get good feelings when you hear good music because you hear the harmony. You hear the notes, the rhythms. So God is so eloquent. He's such an interesting artist, that he can make the one thing that we give credit to make our money, or to find our education, or to find ourselves as a music/culture, which all is derivative of his creation. My question to you is, in understanding hip-hop is more than the music. Hip-hop is, if I say hip-hop is God, isn't Christian hip-hop kind of a redundant term? As if hip-hop really is from God, why do we have to label it and not just walk the walk and talk the talk with our music?
I feel like that's not necessarily a loaded question, as it points to the whole genre or the subgenre, I would say. I think it's really because the labeling of every subgenre of hip hop. So you got like this regular pop hip hop, mainstream hip hop, is all over everything, but you just call hip hop. Then you got underground hip hop. Then you got boom bap hip hop. Then you got southern hip hop. Now you got trap hip hop. And so I think it really boils down to the area. You know what I'm saying? And so like trap, you know what I'm saying? Me being from the South, I completely understand the history of trap music and its evolution. You know what I mean? And how it's really just killing the game right now, right? And how T.I. really started that whole movement of trap music, and it continued on with Jeezy and different ones like that. So, we're hearing the evolution of it right now in 2020. And so I think that, you know, with Christian hip hop, people found their solace and their peace and their footing and foundation in God. And so they were extremely proud of that. And because of some of the connotation that hip hop has had as it pertains to, for being honest, the way that it's extremely misogynistic against women in a lot of ways, even the violence that we still talk about, and we protesting that Black Lives Matter, and we still promoting black on black crime in hip hop music. That's for another time. But I feel like specifically with Christian hip hop, you know, people like Cross Movement, who I'm real cool with, you know, some of their founders. Shout out to John Wells. Shout out to many of the other CHH artists that are out there. But some of the people who really founded it, like Cross Movement, like they had to go through so much because of the connotation that some hip hop music had. And it was like, you know, no, we're talking about Jesus in this music. We're talking about Jesus to these hip hop beats. And they had to make a dividing line where it was like, look, like we're coming up in these churches, we're coming up in these stadiums and these coliseums and these colleges, and we need people to know that this isn't necessarily that type of hip hop where you got to get this huge insurance policy for the venue, you know what I'm saying? Because we ain't going to be having a whole lot of crazy stuff happening. We're going to have a good time. And so I think that, again, it points back to subgenres of where something was birthed out of and how people identify with it and identify with their faith. And it also points back to their faith, you know what I'm saying? So where you from and what it comes out of is why we have the whole sub-genre thing, which I think is very helpful depending on the area or depending on what you got going on. Like being able to identify is very, very important. In certain sectors, you know what I mean? Like in the business world, like you have to be able to identify and have an absolute in certain areas. And so I think for hip hop, it's going to have to be the same thing because you got to break down for some people what you're doing, or otherwise you won't be able to make certain business deals. You won't be able to go to certain places. You know what I mean? It's like it just depends. You know what I mean? You got to understand the times and know what to do with it, know who you're talking with, and know who you're dealing with.
Word. And with all that, let's go into something more pivotal to the music rather than just to philosophy. You know why I think a lot of Christian rappers get unfairly categorized? This is just my opinion, but it is an opinion that has been shared by a lot of people. The beats are corny. The presentation is trash. It's bad. Now, I'm going to be honest. When it comes to Christian hip-hop, I've listened to Bizzle, Lecrae, Cross Movement, Jin, Lavoisier. I'll listen to Hebrew Israelite music. I've listened to, let's just say a good number, because even some people won't even know those people that I even talk to. And shout out to my man, Chris Ward, who I want to introduce you to, actually. He has put me up on people like Stephen the Levite and people to listen to. And when you go through it, a lot of it is the message is dope, but the presentation is trash. Basura to the third degree. Why do you think most people put so much into the industry but don't put in towards the music to make their messages powerful in the genre?
I think that it comes down to really two things. One, church culture. You know what I mean? And I love the church. I am a part of the church. I'm not going nowhere as it pertains to the church. I think what happens is that a lot of times in church culture, a lot of people are patted on the back, for lack of better words, when something, and it's not just with hip-hop music, but it's for a lot of things. Like a lot of people are patted on the back for things that they shouldn't necessarily be patted on the back for. If something isn't good, like a lot of times in church culture, people will just be like, oh, baby, praise the Lord, let him use you. You know what I mean? And it's just not good. And so, like, that's carried on in the Christian hip-hop sector. And so that's definitely one. Two is that sometimes people just aren't good. And I think that's across the board. You know what I mean? I don't just think that's with Christian hip-hop. I think that's with music, period. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes people just are not good. And, I mean, they just keep on going. And it makes it hard for a lot of the other ones who come in, and it's just like, I'm trying to do the best I can. You know what I mean? Like I'm putting the time in, I'm putting the effort in, I'm putting the finances in, the resources in, and you're just making it real hard for me right now because every time, you know, that somebody might see somebody not so good that represents God in Christian music or in Christian hip hop, then it's like all of us get lumped into that same thing. But I think the same could be said again. It could be said again for like mainstream music. You know what I mean?
You can.
But I just think that's really what it is. It's that the church, you know, we say good when we should say sit down, and we say, you know, keep going when we should say sit down. And then I think, you know, sometimes people just aren't good and they just need to sit down. Really
I agree. But wait, let's go into the music. I want to talk about a song that you have called Explicit featuring Chris Belmont. Tell me about that song and what were you attacking with the title Explicit?
Yeah, so like I feel like a lot of times, and shout out to my boy Chris Belmont, he's actually out in New York with Ja Rockin'. We recorded that in Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn. I stayed there a whole lot during the process of that whole project. But like with the song Explicit, I just was really trying to allow people to realize that it's okay to be a Christian. It is okay to speak what you believe, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times, even though we live in a time that says, yo, you know, free speech for all, but if you're a believer, if you're a Christian in many cases, it's not always like that. You know what I mean? People want you to shut up. They don't want you to speak anything about God. They don't want you to have any pride or anything really as it pertains to the faith. So like with Explicit, I just was like, look, let's be proud of our faith. Let's not hold back our faith. Nobody else is holding back what they believe or what they think or their values or anything like that. Like I just was at a point, I was just like, I don't care because so many people were trying to get me to go mainstream hip hop. So many people were trying to tell me like, yo, don't talk about God as much. And this is, you know, other Christian hip hop artists, other gospel artists, you know what I mean? They're like, yo, don't talk about God as much. You know, we really don't want anything to do with that right now. That's not what we're trying to do. We're really trying to kind of disassociate from the faith as it pertains to music. Like we're still believers, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. So for me, I was just taking my stance as a Christian. I'm saying like, look, I started off saying that I was a believer. I started off saying that, and I'm going to stay with it. That's just who I am. I'm not necessarily I'm just not one to bail. I'm not one to dip on what I believe just because certain people or, you know, whoever is going a certain way. Like, y'all not going to pressure me or back me into no corner to make me lose my standing in the faith. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, with Explicit, I wrote the song. I wrote the whole song, and I came up with the concept of it. And my bro Chris completely just killed it. And it's just about don't be ashamed. Like if you really gonna be unashamed, let's do this. Like let's not be afraid. Let's not be ashamed. Let's not switch up now. And also on the artist side, I was just taking a stance and saying like, look, I'm gonna stay Christian. Like that's just who I am. I'm gonna stay Christian hip hop. Like y'all not finna back me again. Y'all not finna back me into no corner for nothing. And so with Explicit, that's really what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, True Since 91 was the release that you brought out that I knew something about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, when I got my partner gave me a name, I was like, Brea Miles. Whoa, really? This is going to be pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think we emphasize, look, my platform of Heritage Hip Hop is about the music, but it's not about the music. I believe that everybody has a right to tell their story. And hip hop is the way we tell our stories to the world because nobody would hear us any other way. You see what I'm saying? And it takes for us to come where people think it's entertainment. It's our newsletter. It's our newspaper. It's the original internet before the computer where we use music to tell, to warn, to inform, and to build with others like us that were in other lands, other countries, and other area codes that were going through the same thing. One of your songs, RTQ, actually is that, where you pull together the ladies of the faith, and the ladies came together to make the new ladies' night, as said in the song. But really, it's an anthem to show women that no matter what is said, your power is not only in the look of society, but it's in the creation of society. Tell me about RTQ and the young ladies that you had on there with you.
Yeah, so RTQ, like, I really wanted to pull together females to show camaraderie, because, you know, like, that's just that same story. Like, females can't get together, we can't work, you know, it's only got to be one female at the top, nobody else can be good, but the one person is here. And I was just like, look, nobody got time for that. Like, that stuff is dead. We're not moving like that no more. And we need to come together as females and really make some noise. And so I reached out to my sis Keystone Lee. I reached out to Angie Rose. I reached out my sis Mia Hunt, who's actually on the hook, and to my sis Mahogany Jones, who is a legend in her own right, killing the game on 106 and everything else. And I was just like, look, let's come together and let's make an incredible record that can encourage women around the world to unify and to stop spewing so much hate. You know what I mean? Because, you know, the guys are already putting us against each other. Let's not do that as well. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's not be the ones adding to the fact that we think that there can only be one female rapper out at a time. And that if that one female rapper is out, then she got to sound like the next one, and the next one got to sound like her. Like, nah, just come on here, do it the way you do, and just move. And so, like, we were able to come together, and, you know, I recorded mine in New York. I was in New York. I was in Brooklyn at the time. And Heatham recorded hers in Brooklyn. Mahogany, I think she was still living in New York at the time. And I think everybody was in New York. Everybody was literally in New York, in Detroit. New York and Detroit. Mo had just moved to Detroit. And she recorded hers and sent hers in, but everybody else was in New York. And we were just like, yo, let's do this once and for all, because a lot of times as females, you know, it can be, you know, a lot of females struggle with insecurity. A lot of females have a hard time just being comfortable in their own skin. And so we figured, like, if we came together, we were comfortable in our own skin, and we were actually supporting each other, and not just saying, like, I support you, but don't really support. I'm going to just look at your page and not say something type of support. Like, we really wanted to come together, have a good time, support each other, and show what it looks like when women, when females get together and say, yo, you're dope, I'm dope, squash the beef, let's move. And so, like, that's really what it was about, and not overselling sex to try to appeal to people. You know what I mean? Everybody, you know, on the song is beautiful. Everybody on the song is talented. And so, you know, we didn't want to lead with sex. We don't feel like we have to lead with sex. We just like, yo, let's just let the talent, let's just let the bars and the energy and the blessing of God speak for itself. And so I'm forever grateful for that track. You know, that song has blessed a whole lot of people and inspired a whole lot of people. RTQ, short for Return of the Queen. So, yeah, that's it.
Okay. I love it. The simple fact of loving it is not the fact that it was done. Because pulling it off is great by itself. Because we need more things like that. I was even actually blessed to see the Wonder Woman led track that was done by Deuce H. Wood. And what he did was he put the ladies together and said, it's not about the men right now. Let's put the ladies out there. And the ladies have been pushing the culture forward more than the gentlemen or the men have been doing in the past 3-4 years. So salute to you for finding the voice and y'all all having the time to do it. What I'm going to say now is you stay relevant with what you do because you keep practical. Like the song Mask Up. Why did you make that?
Oh my gosh, like with Mask Up, I actually got approached by Dr. Dave, who is Dr. Fauci, who, you know, he does our whole health thing here in the States. So y'all know who Dr. Fauci is. And actually his mentee. And Dr. Dave hit me up. He was like, look, I'm Caucasian, but I love the urban community, and I feel like you guys are getting the short end of the stick as it pertains to resources and just having to get the proper knowledge about what COVID-19 is, which is why, you know, for a long time, and even actually now, like African-American community, we were hit extremely hard and dying at disproportionate rates from COVID because we didn't have the right resources and knowledge. And so Dr. Dave was like, look, make a song. I'm going to come behind the song, and we really just want to get the song out to the people so that they know, like, yo, we're going to have a good time. We can still, you know, listen to music and all this other stuff, but we have to be protected when we go out. We have to make sure that we're staying 6 feet apart, you know what I mean? And we can't just be taking it lightly just because, you know, we don't feel like we can catch it or because we're young or because, you know, we're a man or whatever the case may be. push to the urban community, to the black community, the black and brown community, like, look, we're dying like crazy, okay? We can't just be out here without any mask, and we know that it jumps from person to person, you know, from the mouth, from breathing, from that spit and different stuff like that. And we have to be able to control and contain, and we have to be able to control that and to contain it by wearing masks, by using hand sanitizer, by staying 6 feet apart. And even like with even Miss Amy, who was a part of that as well, you know, she really helped spearhead that whole effort and put together, because she's retired military. She's like, look, we need the people to understand, like, we have to be protected. Like, we can't, we're not immune. Because, you know, that whole rumor was going around that we were exempt from it because we were African American. And, you know, we have to really, you know, dismantle that whole rumor. So with that song, we were able to do that. My bro Cannon did the beat. And, you know, we came together and just had fun, like we always do. And, you know, I recorded it, and then bam, it was out. And it's, you know, still reaching a lot of people, being played on internet and internet radio and I can never say it, terrestrial. Oh, brother. The
terrestrial.
Radio, yes, the radio is in your car. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's
New song out right now is God Culture, and you also have a remix, which is going to go into one of our final questions of this interview. Tell me about God Culture and why you remixed it.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do, like the original God Culture, like super bouncy, like I love to move, I like to dance, I like to have a good time. So it was like super super gutter, super gangster, and I just was like, yeah, I love this one, like let's just do it. It got all this bounce. For the remix, I actually wanted to tap into my Latino roots, because I found out that I have Latino in my DNA, you know, further back down in my gene pool, and I just wanted to show some respect to that. And I was very excited when I learned about that. So I was like, yo, that's super dope. So I was like, I want to speak in Spanish. I don't have no Rosetta Stone. I don't have nothing like that, but let me figure it out. So I taught myself how to speak Spanish in like 2 days, because I was on a deadline to turn it in. And I just really wanted to, you know, show respect to the Latino community. Let them know that I love them, I'm thinking about them, and I'm even glad to be a part of the Latino community, the Afro-Latino community. And my brother Chris hopped on there, and he did his thing. He speaks fluent Spanish, and so he hopped on there, and we came together, and it was a beautiful thing. And I remixed it just for the fun of it, just for the respect of it, and again, for the camaraderie of it. Like, I feel like there's so much division, and the thing about hip-hop is it really does unite so many people, you know what I mean, from different backgrounds. So, yeah, we just wanted to do that and have a good time.
Word. And it comes off. I mean, you know, the remix is like something that we don't really focus on, and to see that you did it is very refreshing, because it gives more life, and it gives the message a new taste. You know what I'm saying? You can't keep tasting the same thing. You gotta freshen things up somewhat. And that's one of your more viewed videos, that and All God. Now, All God has a very serious message to it, and that I've seen in the caption. And I want to know, tell us about All God, and is it easier to write out of pain or out of pleasure for you as an artist?
It's always been harder for me to write out of pain, because I'm a very guarded to myself type of person, as it relates to like personal stuff. And so like All God, the funny thing about All God, like that was one of the fastest songs that I write. Like it typically takes me, like it typically takes, depending on the message of the song, it could take like, you know, a day or 2 to 3, 4 days. But All God, I was on a time crunch. And we were actually in Tampa Miami at the time, recording, and I actually had to, you know, write the song while we was driving to the studio, and I only had 15 minutes, and I was so nervous. I'm like, yo, how is this going to sound? What is this going to be like? Because, like, did I rush it? But that song, you know, either it didn't necessarily come out of a painful place. It came out more of a promising type of space, you know what I mean? My mom got diagnosed with stage 3 cancer, so I took like 3 years off to really make sure she was good. And then I came back and I was like, God, on everything, I promise, when you bring my mom through this, I will dedicate every song to you entitled. I already make sure that I, you know, do that with every project. Every project, you know, you'll see numbers in it. It's actually scriptures. that are attached to those numbers, and so I really want to do that, but I wanted to get more specific with the songs, and so with All God, I was like, there's no way that you can mistake, you know, me talking about anything else other than God. And so, you know, with that song, you know, when my mom coming out of the whole cancer thing, it just was like, God, I'm grateful every step that you've allowed us to take. Every move that we're making, you know, coming back into the industry, coming back into ministry, I'm grateful for every single one of those steps. And so, you know, to really answer your question, it's not really hard for me to write out of a fun place. You know what I mean? Like, that's easy. You know what I'm saying? Happy music is easy. You know what I'm saying? Turn up music is very easy. But the painful music is very challenging for me because it's not a comfortable place. But it's something that I've learned that I got to challenge myself to not be a punk and not to feel like vulnerability makes me any less strong or to really rob me of my comfort. Again, that's a part of hip-hop culture. We don't really show too much emotion. We show just enough to get by.
That's true.
Just enough for people, you know what I'm saying? Just enough for people don't think that we crazy or that we cold-hearted. But, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I would just say it's easy to write out of fun, but I've really had to challenge myself to learn how to write from the vulnerable place and not see myself as weak just because I'm putting my feelings or emotions out for the world to see.
Facts. But see, that's the thing about being an artist, because when you're an artist, not a participant, because I believe hip-hop is full of participants, not artists. I would label you more as an artist because your music is the fostering of your growth. You've already cracked the code that many of these so-called participants or artists don't get. And as the written word not only is good to dance to, but it's also good to be given for a testament for those who will come to read your words later. With that being said, you also have a book that you've made. Tell me about that journey and why was it important to document your steps that way as well?
Yeah, that was another thing where I really struggled with the whole vulnerability thing. Like, I really struggled with that because that, you know, even more than All God, really highlighted my mom's process and journey of the whole cancer thing and really myself during that time. It was a very hard time for me. Like, when I say hard, like, I've been through a lot of crap in my life, but that right there was the worst. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was the worst because it's your mom, it's like your favorite person on the planet. Y'all are attached not at the hip but at the heart. And so for me it was really difficult because I felt like I was like, God, like, I'm doing everything not in an arrogant way and not in a self-serving way, but according to your word, I'm doing everything the right way. How could this happen to my mom? Why are you allowing this to happen to my mom? Why my mom? Like, what the heck? Haven't we been through enough? Like, in our lives. So I really struggled with my relationship with God during that time. And it's crazy, like, when you go through, like, the most difficult moments of your life, you know what I mean? Like, when you're on the mountaintop and everything is good, everybody is there. But when the hard stuff comes and that lightning strikes and it's pitch black outside and it's thundering and you scared and you don't know which way to go, everybody just dipped. And so I was there. Like, I didn't have everybody that I had been traveling with, you know what I mean? They just was nowhere to be found. And so I really had to dig deep and say, okay, all right, D, are you going to be the believer that you're projecting to be and that you know you are? Or are you going to crumble up and fall back into this corner because you by yourself and now you got to woman up and you got to take care of your mom and you got to, you got to finish, you in college, you got to figure out how to manage that both and with your music and with your career. And it was very difficult because I just felt isolated and I felt like God had abandoned me. And so, like, with that whole book, Get Your Faith Up, you know, I called it Get Your Faith Up because I had to get my own faith up and I didn't know where to start. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know how that looked. Like, I couldn't necessarily go to church anymore in the physical building because, you know, I had to be in a quarantine because, you know, when anybody goes through chemotherapy, you know, you have to be very careful about what you subject the person who's going through it to. You can't just bring it home like a common cold. You can't do none of that. And so for me, it was like, okay, it's time to be everything that I said that I was. And I'm not saying that it was easy. It was very hard. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, I had the most real, raw, honest conversations with God, so much so that I would pick, paintings and different stuff up off my wall and throw them and break them and crack the glass in half, like literally, because I was that angry and I was that frustrated. And I just couldn't figure it out. So, like, with that whole book, it takes you through the process of course, that was my mom and some of the other times, struggles and trials and stuff that I've had in my life. But really with my mom, taking you through that process and how I overcame that and how I walked through it and I didn't quit just because it got hard. And even when I wanted to quit, I still kept going. And what it looks like when you actually aren't depending on yourself anymore to pull yourself through, but you're actually depending on God and you're putting your faith in God like you said you do in your songs. And so it's really for people, believers and for non-believers who feel like, I might be in a difficult time right now, but I want to come through this. I show you how to not lose your mind. I show you how to not lose your mind and how to not lose your confidence by placing your confidence in Christ and by placing your confidence in something that is bigger and has more of a solace and more of a foundation than we could ever have on our own. Like, yeah, we good. Yeah, we dope. Yeah, we're talented. But that can only get you so far. And when nobody is calling you no more and when ain't nobody on your side no more and nobody want to hit you with a contract no more because you're taking care of your mom or your family or you might be going through a divorce or whatever the dark situation is, how do you keep moving then? Where do you look to then? Where is your hope at then? Where is your confidence at then? And so, like, that's really what the book is about. It's available on my website, alwaysbrea.com, which is, the word always with an S in my name, BREA. But how you really come out of that thing and you triumph, you know what I mean? And you take your battle scars, you lick your wounds, and you keep going. And it's like, God, I thank you that even though that situation sucked, I'm here right now. And I get an opportunity to help other people with that message and with that testimony. And that it's not just for waste. It wasn't just for, just a random story, but I can use that story to now help other people come through that situation. And that's what life really is about, helping the next person along to figure out how they're going to make it through a dark situation to how they can really become what God has placed them to be on this earth.
And with that being said, everybody out there, this is Karev with Brea Miles, and we're giving you the truth, the bars, and the life lessons that come with your walk and your outlook when it comes to your walk in life. Please give everybody your social media and how they could contact you or get your music and your book one more time.
Definitely. And also just to let y'all know, we just put out a new song called Crazy Faith, featuring Heason Lee and Jordan Armstrong. And the song is doing very well. It's number 6 on BDS right now, 173 on gospel streaming. And so that song is out. Make sure you grab it. iTunes Music. If you go on stream it 11 million times. And, do your thing with that. We got a video and everything will be coming very soon. Visual will be coming soon for that song. To get in touch with me, all you have to do is go to alwaysbrea.com. It's the word always with an S. My name, Brea, B-R-E-A. Instagram is always Brea as well. Facebook is always Brea. Everything is literally always Brea. Hit me up. I would love to talk with y'all. Love to encourage y'all. And let's work, because I feel like hip-hop is something that is never going to go away. So let's use it to really empower people and to make ourselves and our communities and our families better.
And with that being said, everybody, I like to say streaming is great. Go ahead and stream her music. But purchasing is power, which means it's better than streaming. So if Miss Brea Miles, has a song that you like, I ask if stream it to like it, but buy it if you love it. Because by buying, not only do you build her platform, but you ensure yourself more music. So instead of paying the middleman, pay her so she could get the benefits of her work, and you would get the benefits of her work as well. And we build a bigger platform for her message, and everybody to be affected by it. Do you agree?
I agree. Thank you so much. That would be awesome. That is awesome. Please do so. That's
right. Everybody put your money where your mouth is. Sometimes you don't need to scratch off for a bottle of water that day. You can get a song. And with that being said, we're going to go into our rapid fire questions. Are you ready to have some fun with me?
I'm ready to have some. This has already been fun. Let's have some more.
All right. So rapid fire questions are not yes/no questions. These are questions that show the depth of your character and your belief. Like I said, I don't really care about Love and Hip Hop, Instagram, whatever. I don't really care. We're not even going to talk about Kanye West, who seems to be great trending in America right now. It's not our concern. Our concern is you, your platform, and your message. So you ready for question number 1?
I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
What song or album not created by you perfectly describes your life?
Oh my gosh, what song or album? What song or album, Lord? Okay. And this is rapid fire, so that means I got to answer quick. Oh,
yeah.
Gosh. I would probably say, if I had to pick Don't Crucify Me, it would probably be, dang, the song just left out of my head. It's the T.I. song. It's really about motivation. I got to hustle, don't stop, grind, don't quit. That song would probably be me, because I don't ever quit.
Okay, I respect it. That's what I'm talking about. Next question. Heritage Hip Hop has a talk show called The Mic Council. And on one of our episodes, we had a conversation that said, did the black church fail the hip hop community? I want to ask you, what does the church represent today, and what does it need to do to repair its standing in the hip hop culture, in your opinion?
I think the church will always and forever represent God. That's why we're here. We're literally here to represent the kingdom of God. That is why we are founded, to represent God and to make disciples of all nations. That is our mandate, our call, according to Matthew chapter 18. Matthew 19. That's why we're here. As it pertains to repairing our repairing how we stand in hip hop culture and in front of the people, I think it boils down to authenticity and not trying to change people before they really have a relationship with God. I think that, we've got to make sure that we're more embracive than we are exclusive. And when I say that, I'm not saying like, yo, let's lose our values, let's lose what we believe, let's assimilate into popular culture in order to accommodate, and we lose what God has called us to do and to be and to represent. I'm not saying that, but what I am saying, I'm saying embrace people, allow them the opportunity to grow in their walk and relationship with God before we try to put our beliefs necessarily on them, because it's not about our beliefs. It's really about what God believes. It's really about what God says and abiding by God's word. So I would say making sure that we're being authentic. We're not taking advantage of people, giving people an opportunity to grow, give people an opportunity to shine, and not being afraid of people's gifts, talent, and power, and embracing that, and just really honoring God with everything that we have. That's how we could do it. You know what I'm saying?
I like that. And I'll ask you, please, watch the interview. Watch the talk show, The Mic Council on Heritage Hip Hop YouTube, and tell me what you think. I would love to have your opinion on that show, all right?
I got you. I definitely will.
Next question. You've already done a remix. Well, the remix is one of the parts of the culture where we added flavor to a song that already existed. So, by not explaining it to you because you already done it, besides your song, what's the greatest remix ever made?
Oh, my gosh. Anything P. Diddy. Anything
Okay.
P. Diddy he is the remix king. Like, there's nobody is taking that crown from anything P. Diddy. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
He can take a country western song and make it hip hop, like make it pop R&B or something. Like anything Diddy, he wins. He wins.
So no song in particular, just everything Puffy does is just great.
Jeez, let's think. Classic hip hop. I like the remix that he did. Classic remix. I like what he did with where he had all of the females on there. I heard it not too long ago. I think the group is called Total. He had Little Kim on. Like that beat is trouble. I'm like, dang, who made that beat is trouble. So really anything like that with that hit hard like that is crazy. When you can take it from being smooth to slapping somebody in the face, that's crazy. You gotta get it. You gotta get it.
All right. So I love your energy. I knew this was going to be special. When I got your name, I was excited. So thank you for making that come true for me. Thank you.
Oh, man, thank you. I love being here. You're so dope. Straight up.
Thank you. Part of being an artist is being able to touch the people and reach the people. You have done it in more ways than just music. You have a show called Straight Facts. Why did you do that? And what was the purpose of giving people the facts as a part of just your music?
Yeah, I think it's important because I feel like hip hop is more than just just a song. I feel like a lot of the times we can get lost. Our intelligence can get lost from the music, you know what I mean, from the visuals of what things look like. And so, like, I really have something, for lack of better words, I really have something to say as it relates to faith and hip-hop music, as it relates to, you know, popular culture and hip-hop music and the faith and Jesus and God. And I wanted that representation to be there where people could actually, you know, dialogue, whether you're a believer or not, and come together and say, all right, this is what it is. This is what we believe. But at the end of the day, we can have all the beliefs that we want. If they don't point back to God, we're still going to have issues. So, for instance, we're still having the same race conversation since the inception of America. We have had this same issue, right? We've had this same issue about black people and white people. Like, we've had this same issue for hundreds of years, right? Why are we still having this issue? People are approaching it at a, you know, not necessarily economical, but they're at a socio-economical thing. They're looking at it as a surface thing, not understanding that it is a theological issue. And the reason why we can't get past racism in America is because it is a sin issue. And we're approaching it from a perspective of, this is just what I feel, this is what I think. It don't have nothing to do with that. It is a sin issue. Anytime somebody is willing to treat somebody less than humane, to take a person's life, and they're actually comfortable with that, that is a sin issue, because the Bible tells us that we should not take life because it is not ours to take. It is only God's to give, right? And so I think that with the whole straight back thing, I wanted to come like, yo, we need to be able to have conversations and say it without fear. And a lot of people get, you know, tripped up, like when you want to bring God into a conversation. But the only way to really have a resolve to anything is by having God in that conversation. And I think we keep running into the same issues and the same problems, because we keep saying, like, we want the benefits of God, we want the benefits of the Bible, but we don't want God. You know what I'm saying? And you can't have both. You know what I'm saying? It's like you can't say, you know, we want all of the benefits, we want all of the prizes, we want all the presents of God, but we don't actually want God. And so we keep running into that because we're taking out the major key, as DJ Khaled would say. We're taking out the main thing, and we're trying to put ourselves in it and our ideology, and we're not getting nowhere because the one who has all of the answers, we keep trying to take him out. And so with straight facts, I was just like, yo, we gonna come with it, and we gonna have fun, but we gonna get to some resolve, and we're gonna have uncomfortable conversations, and we're gonna do what God has called us to do, and bring the insight that we need to. So that's really why we did it.
I would love to be on your show, because everything you just said got me wanting to talk to you about that issue. Because all right, it's on you. I'll appear when you're ready, because I'm telling you now. Sort of what you said goes into a statement and a written thing that I did a long time ago about the faith of racism and why Manifest Destiny is the Christianity of America. So leave that for another time. My next question for you is this: if you had the opportunity to make your perfect song, who would feature with you and who would do the beat? Dead or alive, no restrictions.
I would definitely do something with Whitney Houston. Definitely with Whitney Houston. It would be a whole rap. I'm trying to see who else, dead or alive. I would like to do God Rest His Soul. Definitely something with Tupac. I think that would be hard. I think he was already keeping around the whole Christian hip hop thing anyway. Like, I can hear it in a lot of his music. You know, he was really trying to figure out that God thing. He just didn't have that connect, that representation, like what we were talking about. On the faith-based side of things, I would love to do something with CeCe Winans. I think she's classic. You know what I'm saying? Also something with the Clark sisters. I feel like if they would let me come in there and like just give them the coldest trap beat that they ever heard, it would be a rap. And then trying to figure out one more person that would be dope. Who do you think would be dope for me to do something with? I think who you think?
Samad Savage.
Samaya Savage.
No, Samad. Samad Savage.
Okay.
Samad Savage and Gail Campbell.
Okay.
That's some homework for you. Hey, that's Jersey right there. That's some homework for you. Samad Savage is a back-to-back back-to-back award nominee for Project of the Year from Heritage Hip Hop. He's a co-winner of the first year he was nominated. Second year, unfortunately, perfect classic album called Trust the Weird Kids, but it didn't pass Bloody Waters by Gail Campbell. Gail Campbell sounds like she gives birth on every record. That's how beautiful it is. And Samaj Savage is the future. He's dope. And Brea Miles is dope just the same way. So back to Brea Miles, and not everybody she should collab with. Let me ask you this. What is the most important message in music that people hear, and what's the most important message that people have not said yet in music that people need to hear?
God, the authenticity of God. And I think that's really what it boils down to a lot of our issues. Like our culture, not just hip hop culture, but American culture really has a hard time with authentic. You know what I'm saying? Because it requires truth, and truth requires being uncomfortable and having that conversation that makes you check yourself, which we don't like to do at all. So I think that having the real nitty-gritty God conversation is going to allow us to have exactly what you're talking about, which I feel is needed. You know what I'm saying? And you know, that's part of the reason why I'm here to really press that matter, because I feel like if we can really crack it and really have a full understanding of, you know, not that we'll ever really have a true full understanding, because God is inexhaustible, meaning that we can never figure him out completely, but we can have an idea of what God is like by our relationship with him. That's what I'm here. That's why I'm here. That's what I'm doing. That's why Christian hip hop is here, because we believe in doing that, and we want to have a genuine, authentic conversation about faith and how we can actually live out what we're talking about.
Dope. Everybody, this is Karev with Brea Miles, the eloquent Miss Brea Miles that's on the line right now. This has been a pleasure, and this interview is going to be closed with this final question. This is the most important question I ask on every first interview. So that means you are welcome to come back, and this is just the first. You have an open door. So,
thank you.
So my question is, I'm going to build the question up for you. One day, you're not going to be on the earth anymore. Unfortunately, you're going to pass. May COVID and everything going on in the world today not touch you and your family. May you live to see 17 generations of your family, if possible, if the Most High allows it. So we don't wish anything on you, period. But one day, there is going to be a day where you're not going to walk the earth. And one day, somebody's going to find your book. One day, somebody's going to go into a museum and see a laptop, and they're going to put the play button so they can hear what type of music people listened to back in the day, and they're going to hear your music. My question is, what is the legacy that you left on the world that made it better because you did music?
Gangster Faith.
Oh, God. Put that on a shirt. Gangster Faith. Explain that, though.
Gangster Faith is a savage, beastly, relentless desire to be everything that God has placed in you. Not losing your energy, not conforming to what people may feel you should be or think you should be, but only listening to the voice of God, walking fearlessly, living passionately, and just being a G. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, you know, a lot of times people with harder backgrounds, people from the street, people who grew up a certain type of way, we feel like we have to lose every single thing about us in order to be a part of Christianity. But in actuality, God wants you to be who you are. He doesn't want us to lose the essence of who we are. He just wants to refine that thing. And Gangster Faith is not losing who you are, but unlocking the beast that God has created you to be, and using that same energy you use in the street, but using it for his kingdom. That's what Gangster Faith is.
For everybody out there, Gangster Faith really basically means walk the walk, talk the walk, talk, and live through your example, so everybody can be inspired by not only what you say, but what you do. For the Bible says faith without works is dead. And most of the time, we don't get the opportunity to understand what work is. Man gives you a job, but God gives you your work. So your works and your faith are the manifestation of God's graces within you that you bless the world with through his word. With that being said, this is Karev with the incredible Miss Brea Miles. We say peace, and we out.
We out. Thank you so much, my brother. You are the dopest on this planet. Straight up.
Thank you for tuning in to this wonderful interview. As stated before, Brea Miles is a MC, a female who really gets into not only her faith, but bringing her faith to her music. That's something that's sorely needed in hip hop today, as we have more and more songs about body parts, twerking, drug abuse, misogyny, and sex that is given to the youth without a balance. And Brea Miles works hard to make sure that her music brings balance to the hip hop culture that not only feeds our desire to jam and party, but also teaches our youth about the perils of life to come and how to be prepared. See, in faith, we call that putting on the armor of God and studying to show thyself approved. And we support Brea Miles and her movement. So make sure you check her out on YouTube and her show, Straight Facts. And look, man, it's deeper than music, man. It's all about who we are as a people, what our culture and heritage is, and how we pass those legacies on to the youth. So shout out to BQ of Fatty's Place, our virtual assistant who helped make this interview happen, because this interview is a classic. It deserves to be put everywhere. So to everybody out there that's looking for great music, look up Brea Miles. We shout her out. This episode is brought to you by Transparent Credit Repair, the superheroes of the financial literacy and credit repair world. If you're looking to fix your debt and repair your credit, contact them at www.transparentcreditrepair.com and also call them at 862-250-5122 and tell them you were referred by Heritage Hip Hop. We ask everybody that follows Heritage Hip Hop to please subscribe to www.heritagehiphop.com and support our movement. And as a member of the website, you get playlists, music downloads, etc. And we also send you prizes as well. Membership is free. Just sign up at www.heritagehiphop.com. And this month, our special treat is the Jersey Series 2 playlist featuring the 050 Boys. The 050 Boys are Prince Ock, Reek, and True Triller, three of the best MCs out of North and East Orange, New Jersey, who bring back that original hip-hop sound, but today's hardcore lyrics. Let's give a shout out to everybody out there who supports Heritage Hip Hop, which is you, the listener, you, the supporter, and also our team. You can follow them on Instagram at their names. It is Fatty's Place, our virtual assistant, FADDYSPLACE, Fire Jaws, our MC resident, who's also marketing, promotion, and placement. He also runs Wildfire Marketing, so that's Fire Jaws. Lex Diamonds, DIEMENZ, of Diamonds, same store, the same way, Entertainment LLC, and Adayar, AHDAYAR on YouTube, who is the host of The Big A Show. Season 2 is coming, so make sure you stay tuned. For everybody out there who loves Heritage Hip Hop, check out our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And with YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. You can catch us on Linktree, linktr.ee//Heritage Hip Hop to see how many destinations that you could take to follow Heritage Hip Hop. Signing off, this is Karev telling you we have more classic interviews to come. And I want to give a shout out to Andy Anatomical, who won the 50th episode giveaway, and you'll hear and see from him on our Heritage Hip Hop Instagram. So make sure you stay tuned. He won the t-shirt. He has Hulu that he won as a subscription, and we're going to work on something to get him on the platform as either a part of an episode or to run something on his own. So with that being said, this is Karev at Heritage Hip Hop congratulating Andy Anatomical and telling everybody look out, because we got something very special cooking, and if it goes through, somebody's going to be very happy. With that being said, I would like to say peace, and we out.